What's good, everybody? It's Big Time Sports Podcast with me, your host, Perci Garner. And we have it, like I promised, we got another guest. You're not going to be staring at me the whole time. And I'm excited. We've had this guest on before, but they have someone with them. And I'm going to have them introduce themselves. But before we get into that, I just want to remind you guys to make sure you subscribe. Obviously, we're on this new YouTube page. Hopefully, you can find it. If not, go to our Facebook, follow us there, and then we'll lead you over here to the YouTube page. Live sports. Obviously, we got football coming up this fall. A lot to be ready for and excited for. And always appreciate your feedback. So leave that down below. And did I mention subscribe? Thanks. All right. So quickly, because I want to make sure we get to, we've got a lot of stuff happening. Obviously, Garraway and Dover's softball team has done well. And I'm going to keep bringing that up because I didn't really do a dedicated show to them winning state. But they won't be mad at me, I don't think. And then obviously we have, I think I wouldn't say necessarily flying under the radar, but before we get into that, I wanted you guys to introduce yourself because, I've learned a lot from you and continue to do that. And being a part of the program that we're going to be talking about here in a few minutes, it's made me better as a parent and a coach and even at my job at Rainbow. So I'll stop blabbing. Introduce yourself, sorry.
So my name is Ryan Bowland. So this is funny telling you because we've known each other a while. I'm the director of Armor Sports at New Point Community Church, and we live here in Tuscarawas County.
All right, and then Isaac.
I am Isaac Bowland. I am 14. I'm going into 9th grade at Garraway High School, and I play golf.
There we go. And you excel at golf. We'll change that to, which we'll be getting to that in a minute. But golf has been something that I don't think I've told you this yet, but obviously I love the game and I've been playing a lot the last 4 years or so. Finally was able to buy clubs. Very exciting. I was using hand-me-downs that were too short for a long time. That was the reason I was bad, but it's not actually. I got these new clubs and I'm still bad. But
isn't that the worst when you think you figured it out?
Yes, it is terrible. When I was trying the clubs out, I was just squaring everything up and just hitting it straight. It was great. But my wife, Krista, is just, I'm laying in bed and I hear Instagram story, like her feed is just golf, golf, golf. I'm like, what's going on over here? So she got bit by the golf bug. So yeah, she's really enjoying it. So we're playing as much as we can. And she's finding out. She's improving, but she's finding out that this is tough. It's not like a lot of things where you can just kind of pick it up, I'm sure there's people out there who do, but most people don't. So. But before we get into talking about, the lovely sport of golf and the success and what you got going on coming up next, Isaac, we want to talk about Armor Sports. And Armor Sports we've had on the show, I guess, before we were doing video. So we did the little transfer over to me being the host. And, I'm happy to have you here so people can see your faces now. But we got events. My kids are going to be joining and participating in a lot of the stuff that's going on. Can you tell us about, things you got going on, and then we'll go into deeper about Armor Sports and why, the listeners and people watching, why you guys should having your kids, attend and participate in a lot of these events. So Armor Sports is, something that when you reached out to me and said, hey, you want to be involved, it was something I was like, yeah, let's do this. So, and you guys invest in, coaches and athletes and everybody involved, even, the parents, and everybody knows their expectation, which I love. To me, that's the very important part when you're talking about youth sports. But why is Armor Sports something that you were like, I'm going to spearhead this. I'm going to create this culture of positivity and make sure, because youth sports, a lot of people, it's known for parents getting out of line. But you've done a great job of making sure that doesn't happen. But why take this over? Why kind of create this thing we have now in Tuscarawas County as Armor Sports, and a lot of parents are like, I want my kid participating here because it's positive, they're learning sports, and it's a lot of fun. And you guys don't just do, the bare minimum of his hand and let's line up and let's play. It's a lot of the cool things that the kids enjoy, and I think that's part of the success. But again, the backbone comes to what I just said. But why Armor Sports for Ryan Bowland?
Yeah, a couple reasons. One, and I will say this, I don't mean to correct you, but it's in Coshocton County now too.
Oh, okay.
So we just launched in our Coshocton campus.
Okay.
For those that listen in the Coshocton area.
Gotcha.
So that'll be fall for flag football. But one, it was our church's commitment and continued commitment to make an impact in the community.
Okay.
So, one of the things that our lead pastor, Dwight Mason, speaks a lot about is if New Point didn't exist in the community, what would be missing? So how are we making an impact, and how is the community going to embrace what we do? What can we do to embrace that? Now Dwight's got a long history of sports, so he primarily in basketball that I know of. Could have been some other ones, but he famously played basketball at McKinley High School.
Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know.
And he holds the assist record at a Christian college where he played.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for Dwight, but I think he would say that sports has taught him invaluable lessons, the same invaluable lessons that they've taught us growing up. So it really starts with their commitment, and the executive team at New Point and their commitment to wanting to start a youth sports program, a faith-based youth sports program. And then for me, why I got into it was, I had a long career at Finish Line, a long time. That's where we got to know each other a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I've had been attending New Point for 12, 14 years prior to working there. But for me, it was, I had a career at Finish Line, but I didn't have a calling. And looking back at it, it's amazing how God kind of leaves crumbs along the way. If you're obedient and you listen, and you will step out of your comfort zone, and how He's preparing you all the way. Because if I didn't do other things or experience other youth sports things leading up to applying and interviewing for that job, I probably wouldn't have never even applied. Mm-hmm. So a big part of it was Isaac's golf, taking him to different camps around the country and spending time with different youth sports leaders. Although it was golf, there's still a lot of that translates over when you step into a well-organized organization. So like you mentioned, the way we train our coaches with Positive Coaching Alliance, I first experienced them through U.S. Kids Golf, which was a camp that Isaac was at. Okay. So you don't know these things, right? Yeah. You don't know these things. But then at some point, God kind of, if you're obedient, God will reveal that plan. And that's when I decided, like, I want to be a part of this. I want to lead this. I want to. I feel stretched, and I know it's going to be a challenge, and I know I've got to spend time investing in myself. And the church had a great plan on investing in me before we had our first single event. I spent almost close to a year on staff before we had our first event to prepare myself. By studying other sports ministries, other youth sports organizations, what could we do to stand apart and to provide value to the community? So, to answer, I hope that answered your question. But
yeah, it definitely does.
Why did I get into it? But ultimately, it started with the vision that Dwight sees, and then being able to give me that vision, and others on the executive team to say, this is the vision that we have. For what we want to do in the community, and then at that point, it was just about me saying yes to God, and being open-minded about how I needed to prepare myself, because I was in a very comfortable, well-suited role. Yeah. And wasn't looking to leave. Yeah. Well, it was my plan, but it wasn't God's plan. So yeah, that's how it came to be.
Well, I mean, it's not always easy to be obedient. I feel like I'm in a stage right now where I'm trying to, I don't want to say ignore, because I'm seeing and hearing the signs, which I don't want to dive too much into it, but I know exactly kind of what you're talking about. And right now I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm comfortable where I'm at right now, but I can feel, and it's through different people talking to me. I'm just like someone I haven't seen, since I was a child, telling me exactly what God's been telling me this whole time. And I'm like, why you keep doing this? But so it's not always easy to be obedient. Sometimes, most of the time, it's nice to be comfortable and stay in your lane. And you're like, I've been doing this, and I'm doing this well. So it's it's tough, but I'm glad you did it because now I'm seeing things that I didn't know I needed. I didn't know I needed to sit through some positive coaching alliance that would let me take stuff not just from coaching in sports, but home to my family. So, and I'm pretty sure everybody else can say the same thing who has been through those or just been a part of Armor Sports in any capacity. So, now I think I started out leading the question with what events you got going on, and then I just,
Yeah.
but we know how my mind works. So, for Armor Sports, things that are going about to happen here, and I think in 2 weeks and beyond. So, can you give us a quick outline? And I'm probably even going to post stuff on Big Time Sports page with some dates. If you've got a specific way that you want me to do that, I can do that. Just let me know.
Yeah.
But what do you got coming up?
So we're in the middle of camp season right now.
Okay.
So our camps are full, and we're just working through those. So we have a soccer camp that's literally this week. Okay. Then we have basketball in 2 weeks. So then we have flag football mini camp coming up in July. And then we're in our second season of NFL flag that starts this fall. So that registration is currently open, and it's open until July 23rd.
Okay.
So that's for boys and girls age 5 to grade 6.
All right. Dang. Okay. Soccer, basketball, flag. And obviously, we always play basketball in the winter. Now, are those the leagues that you really are focusing on right now? Is like the actual, I know you're doing the soccer camps and stuff, but the actual leagues that you have at Armor Sports is flag football, basketball. Is there anything else?
Yeah, and cheer with basketball. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Those are the 3 that we've landed on that we feel are good needs in the community, good growth potential. And have been received well by our community so well. Gotcha. So that's a big reason why we wanted to look. We've been actively looking to grow at other campuses, and because Shockton's a pretty easy fit because we've got some acreage down there at our campus, okay. And we feel that that's a need that we can help fill in the community.
That's what's up. Now, Isaac, I know this isn't what we plan, but I want to ask you, do you feel that Armor Sports stretched, your dad away from you a little bit, or do you feel like it was a good thing overall?
I remember it's not as much as it was with Finish Line because I remember him traveling a lot.
Okay. Good point. So
it's not as much. I still see him every day, mostly.
Yeah, sometimes you don't want to, though, right? No, I'm just
He's 14. Absolutely. He doesn't want to see me every day.
That's good. That's good. Well, I appreciate you joining us, but, we want to talk golf. And have we golfed yet? Did we do a scramble?
We did. We did a couple years ago.
Was it basketball?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't, I'm way better than I was then, just to let you know right now. But
He's qualifying himself. You don't have to do that.
But for me, and for a lot of people, golf is a source of frustration, and we don't have the time or the dedication, or we've got other things that we've got to work on. But you, I guess I want to start with what made you say golf is something that I'm going to really just focus on, and I'm going to try to be the best I can be, and I'm going to grow and push through adversity because I know golf is going to be difficult. But what kind of made you choose golf and like, hey, this is what I'm going to do?
So how it first started was we were sitting at home and he had the Arnold Palmer on, and I asked him if we had any golf clubs, and I swung it outside and it just clicked.
Really?
And I just felt something. I was like, I need to keep doing this.
Okay. I feel like I have the same story, but I don't know if I use clicked as the word. It's something I was like, wow, I like this. I'm not good, but eventually I will be, maybe in 10, 15 years. But you've had a different experience. And when it clicked, you felt like, hey, I think there could be a future in this. And, I want to put a lot of my time and effort and energy into this. How has that gone for you? Is golf being something that you have to dedicate a lot of time with? Is it something that, when it clicked, you're like, this isn't going to be difficult for me to work hard. I love this game so far, and I'm just going to put everything into it. Was it like that, or there's still some times, even though you love the game, where you're just like,
I mean, yeah, most of the time I had a pretty good drive for it.
Okay.
like I'd want to go out almost every day.
Okay, that's what's up.
But there's sometimes I'd have a tournament and I wouldn't perform my best, and I'd still want to go out the next day or even that night.
So that's how you know. Okay, I love to hear that. Because a lot of people can get discouraged. Especially youth if they're not doing well. Peyton today, we were at Top Golf and she wasn't winning, and she wanted to quit, but we got her through it, and she ended up winning the next game. I think it was called Block Party. We were playing,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
she ended up
yeah.
winning that one. Which I learned, and
and-
when you keep the ball on the ground and let it roll, and you can get a lot of points. That wasn't working
Hey,
for me.
That still
It
works.
does. It does.
I'll add that what I remember too is when we saw he was interested in it and that he had some ability and was having some early success. It was organizations like the First Tee in Canton.
Okay.
It was organizations like PJ Junior League that have really only been around for a short amount of time.
Gotcha.
PJ Junior League, I want to say less than 10 years.
Oh, really?
And the First Tee a little bit longer. But these are organizations that are part of growing the game of golf, and are overseen by different bodies. But their curriculum and the way that they would scale things down and keep it fun, I think, is what helped eliminate some of that monotony. Or
Yeah.
that's not the word you use, but
For sure.
because when golf season for Isaac starts in March and runs till literally snow on the ground.
It's a long
So
season.
it is, and especially when you got the itch because you just want to play all the time.
Yeah.
But there's some, and the reason I wanted to add that I thought it was important because parents listening that their kids might be interested or you want to get your kids into it. Those are two great organizations that really help foster in U.S. kids golf. They really help foster growth in golf at a kid's level.
Yeah.
Scaling down the game, providing equipment, providing low barrier to entry events like the First Tee. You could participate in a golf camp there for less than $40.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They have leagues and things. They have you can go there and get free lessons. They help you with equipment. We spent a lot of time at the First Tee in Canton, all the way up till he was about 8 or 9 years old.
Okay. So wait, I didn't even ask, what year or how old were you when you went out and you guys had the Honor Palmer on and you decided to go out and swing the club?
I think I had I was maybe 6.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah. That year he was getting ready to turn 7. Yeah.
Okay. That's dope. Yeah, I wish somebody would have told me to get into golf at an earlier age, but I started when I was, I think, 33 is when I started.
Well, yeah. I was part of the Tiger Woods rush. I wish I would have played.
Oh, I know. I mean, I watched it. I was like, that's cool, but that's not for me. I'm not going to be able to do that. And not knowing that, you don't have to play like Tiger to still be successful at golf.
Yeah.
But no, I'm understanding that now. I was going to say, I don't think I've really done that much the way you explain these organizations that make the game fun and kind of simplify it and give you different goals other than trying to hit the ball far and get it in the cup as soon as you can. And you've told me, over the years, you've told me certain things that were great for Isaac and growing his game. And it just seemed kind of simple at the time. And I'm like, dang, I can do that,
Yeah.
But for you, Isaac, is there, I guess the way I want to ask is, for you, do you feel like you progress, and is it fun to participate in, just straight going out to the range still? Or for you, do you like, I just want to play the game of golf?
I kind of find going out to the range sometimes enjoyable because it can be peaceful at the same time.
Yeah.
PJ Junior really built a lot of my love for the game because it was fun and it was team play, and you would do a scramble against 2 other people.
Oh, okay.
And it was really, I mean, you got your own jersey with your last name and a number on the
Oh,
back.
there we
You
go.
know it.
Yeah.
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 See, those are the things that I think Armor Sports brings to the table too. that gets kids excited. Of course, other youth sports give you jersey, but the name and stuff on there, and just giving you different things to look forward to. Because if you're like me, it's all about the accessories. You got to have the nice glove or the nice sleeve or good wristbands. Got to have good shoes, of course. But
we call that Mr. Primetime in our.
Oh, there we go.
Those game day stickers you give out, Mr. or Mrs. Miss Primetime.
Okay, I think Peyton got one of those.
But to your point, that's some of the things that we tried to bring to life in Armor. The founder of US Kids Golf, his name just escaped me, and that's wrong. I need to look that up. But I read an article once where he talked about why he started US Kids Golf many years ago. And it was because he wanted to get his kids in the game. So he took them to the local country club that he was a member of. Okay. And they were doing a youth golf camp. And the club pro that was there, no fault of his own, but he stood out on the range while the kids were sitting listening to him, and he gave a 30-minute tutorial on how to grip the club properly. Well, you tell me, a 7-8-year-old sitting, there. So he said to himself, "There's got to be a better mousetrap. There's got to be a better way to do this." Yeah. So that's when they started building US Kids Golf, and now they have a training curriculum and everything that's fantastic. But gamification and practice is something that we took from US Kids Golf. The ability to bring games into the games and make it competitive. It's like, we always use this in training when we train for basketball. Why does every kid that plays basketball love playing knockout?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there's a winner, it's competitive, it's fast paced.
Yeah.
And even in golf, like we would go to US Kids Golf camps. You remember some of the games we'd play? You want to share some?
There was one where you were on a team and you tried to put as many shots from around the green into a little 2-foot circle. And the team that won that, I forget what they won. They might have won like a sleeve of balls, like an Arnold Palmer or something. I don't know.
Like, is that the lemonade and tea Arnold Palmer? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Loved it. It's one of my favorite drinks.
And they do like stuff on the range. So they do closest to the pin on the range, or they'd go out to the par 3 course at Longleaf down there, and they'd play and see who got the lowest score.
Okay. Now, that's something that I do with like schoolwork, but I never thought about.
Oh, that's.
I never thought about. I don't know why, but I never thought about doing it. And I've been a part of it. Coaches have done gamification and practice for me, and it's obviously paid big dividends. So I think that's something that's I feel like more people should do that. And like you said, not to the the fault of that instructor, but it's just kind of, you think that's just how it's supposed to be done. And we're all glad that people can think outside the box and do different things. And I guess I kind of looked at it as when you had me coaching in Armor Sports and doing the junior NBA and seeing those practice things and seeing them do different games. I'm like, oh, okay, because my girls team that I just coached this past season, Armor Sports, they love the shark game where and all that, and the snake, and I was just like, I never would have thought about this. So
well, and if you read, you can go online and look these statistics up, but 70% of kids stop playing sports at the age of 13.
Dang.
And if you believe that sports and extracurriculars are some of the best ways to develop children and teens for adulthood, then you want to try to keep them in these things as much as possible, right? Because they're learning so many valuable skills when they play sports. One of the things that I read recently, an article, was how kids are learning to submit to authority.
Wow.
When they submit to their coach, when they got the right coach.
Yeah.
So you think about that early on in their life. They're learning to work as a team. They're learning to show up on time, be prepared, play, rely on their teammates and build trust, listen to and rely on another adult as a coach. And as a parent, who doesn't want their kids to learn those things?
For sure.
So it's not just about building the skill of the sport. It's about the life lessons that come along with it that sometimes just happen naturally. But there's two reasons, the reason that those 70% of kids stop playing sports at the age of 13. One is because it turns into a funnel. As we know, the higher you go up in age, the less spots there are to participate. So we hope to change that a lot at Armor in the future. We want to continue to grow. Right now, we primarily go up to grade 6, but we would love to go beyond that, as we continue to build our program. The other reason is because of the lack of fun. He has stuck with golf because he's had success, but also because it's fun.
Yeah.
And you see it now. You hear it a lot from parents about, can we get kids off devices and, can we get kids back out to play? Yeah. Well, kids are professional learners. They will gravitate towards what they enjoy the most. So if the most fun thing for a kid is his device, that's where they're going to gravitate towards, at least until they find the thing, whatever it is, that excites them, that they want to go do. And we've tried to be very careful, not just at home, but with Armor too. We've tried to be very careful about what can we do to make sure that we're keeping it fun, especially with Isaac with golf. I've had to be his caddy and his coach for a long time. Now I'm really looking forward to hand him off to Michaela Johnson at Garaway, and she's fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to handing him off. But I've tried to, and I've had to remind myself, and sometimes Mom has had to remind me, and sometimes Isaac's had to remind me that you got to keep it fun, and you got to keep it. You can be mission oriented about goals and things, but you gotta have the fun factor in along the way, or they lose interest. And any parent out there that's had a kid that has lost interest in a sport, I would almost guarantee it's because somewhere along the line an adult took the fun out of it for them, whether it was their own selves or a coach.
Yeah.
So if you want your kids to continue to play sports and develop, into their teens, I mean, most kids develop their identity by the time they're 13. So the longer that we can keep kids playing in sports, to me, the just better adults we're creating.
That's what's. I agree with that. I mean, I think I've said that not so eloquently.
I should say better versions of themselves, right? They learn to be better versions of themselves.
Yeah, because I think the quote I heard from Positive Coaching Alliance was, every kid, most kids are not going to be professional athletes, but they're all going to be professional adults.
Yep.
And, I don't think a lot of us look at it that way.
We hope that they all become professional adults, right? Yeah. Like one of the things that legendary golf coach that's with U.S. Kids Golf now, Jim Hardy, he's their senior director, he has said, we go to this golf camps, and sometimes you've got some pretty elite players there, but they're a wide range. Yeah. Kids that are just starting out, some of the elite players, and he it's always a setup. Well, we've been there. We had gone 3 times, so we knew what to expect. But one of the things Jim will ask the room is, and it's just the parents in this room, and he'll say, "What is your goal as a parent?" And everybody will go around the room.
Oh gosh.
What is your goal for your kids that you want for your kids? And he'll say at the end, "Listen, it should be that they move out of your house when they turn 18." Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves, right? Everybody everybody wants the best for their kids. Everybody has the right intentions, but do they always have the right strategy? So that's essentially what we hope sports can be, right?
Find a rewarding career close to home at Kimball. You'll find outstanding benefits, a supportive team, and opportunities for career growth. Working for a local family company really makes a difference. Apply today.
I mean, and it's worked for me. I blame a lot of, my discipline and the things that my strengths are sports, and they weren't always that way. So, now Isaac, we talked about how, you love the game, and gamification has made it easier to practice, I would say, or more fun to practice, not necessarily easier. But for you though, like, what drives you to continue to work once you're like, I'm pretty good, things are going well for me. I learned the game. I've participated in a lot of camps. I've learned a lot about golf. What keeps you going though? And, what gives you your drive? Because I don't like to use the word motivation because that can go up and down. Drive is kind of constant. But what drives you to continue to practice, continue to want to get better at the game of golf?
Most of it is my faith. I think I have a calling to play the sport. Sometimes if game doesn't go my way and I think down to myself, I'm just like, hey, you've been playing it for this long. You can't quit it now.
Okay. And that's pivotal. I mean, faith is, I didn't always think that baseball was, it was my calling, but there were certain aspects and certain events And even certain just discussions that I had with my other teammates where I'm like, okay, I think I see why I'm here right now.
Yeah.
But now you talked about, you're not always going to perform at your best. And, sometimes you get down to yourself, but you've got that drive to continue that like, I want to get better and I want to go out and take some swings now. Let's go. But I know for me, seeing different people, maybe not always struggle, but when they're going through, something or they're not pitching the way they want, or even when they are, seeing different people's quirks and things that they do. Andrew Miller had some funny things he did. Josh Tomlin did some things. But for me, I never really had something that I could fall back on when I started to speak, down to myself or had negative self-talk or because along those lines, I did that a lot, and it was always don't do this, stop this. And it was never about action, But for you, because I've talked about a lot on here and on 99, but the mental part of sports, because everyone's in the physical, lifting, getting stronger, trying to get faster, trying to, improve your club speed, whatever it is, at the end of the day, the mind is a big portion of how you succeed in life and in sports. When I was going to the quarterback room and when I was playing college football, they had a sign above, and this is football, and the sign said, mental is to physical is 4 is to 1. And I was just like, this is football. How? I know I was a quarterback, but at the end of the day, I'm like, there's no way football, it takes 4 times the mental. But when you think about it, and for players, the linebackers that are like the leaders of the defense, and they're making all the calls, and they know what the offense is trying to do, they're way more confident. They're able to play fast because they know mentally what's going on. Now, for you, we're bringing that into golf. I'm sure you have negative self-talk. You're not always like, yeah, Isaac, you're going to get this one. So when you go through those situations, kind of what do you fall back on, or what do you look to, or who, or do you prepare yourself in those situations?
Well, sometimes when I'm down, I try to just focus on the fundamentals. Just going back to the start, what I've been told to do, because sometimes I've been caught trying to fix my own swing.
Oh, so you're not supposed to do that? Oh, that's what, I feel like I do that and then I mess something up. But it's good that you.
So
I'm learning something today.
I just go back to everything that I've been told, and I wear this that I got. It says snap the negative self-talk. So I just.
Okay. I like that. So I had when I got with the Indians, I had a wristband they gave me that said throw more, pitch less. That was my thing in my mind, because I was someone that wanted to finesse and aim when I start throwing balls, and I'm like, oh, I gotta throw a strike. But once it was like, for some people that might not be the thing you want to say, but for me that worked, where I'm just like, just throw the ball, I don't need to pitch per se, just throw it. So that's neat. I love that. Man, so for when you're in that situation and you're, you've snapped the negative self-talk, how good does it feel though when you're like, I was in a little space there, didn't want to be in that space, but you snap back and you're able to, come back from maybe a bad swing you thought you might have had, or just something that you've said to yourself negatively, and then you kind of look at that and you look at that situation. But how good does it feel, one, and it makes it all worth it in the end? I'm assuming for you, once you're not necessarily the result of a shot, but when you're just in a positive headspace and you're looking forward to attack the next hole. So how good does it feel when you're like, all right, get that negative stuff out of here, and you get back on track? And two, when you're, maybe the round's over and you and your dad are looking back and going, see, hey, hole 6, I heard you say some things to yourself, or and then, hole 8, I was able to see that you were able to bounce back, and not necessarily was it, hey, I fixed my swing, but at the end, was it just so fulfilling to have that process and to have someone say, hey, let's use this and see if this works for you?
Well, once I first get out of it, it kind of feels like a sense of relief. It's like, oh, I'm out of that. I can't mess myself up any more than that.
I like that. I like that. um, for me, when I was in the situation, you know, I would kind of have snowballs in a negative thing. You know, I know there's a snowball in the debt relief when you're talking about Dave Ramsey, but I would snowball negatively in baseball where I would have one ball turn into two balls, turn into six balls, and then the coach comes out and is like, "Hey man, you know, you be all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be fine." Then I walk the next guy, and it just keeps going because I didn't really have something to reset on, and then I'm just negatively. So that's you know, I'm glad that you have something at an early age to understand this because this can translate to a lot of things you do. You know, eventually you're gonna have to, you know, go into relationships and you're gonna have to, you know, snap a band and deal with somebody. I'm sure you're not doing that currently. But
Never.
but no, I want to kind of get into, you know, before we, you know, close the show out, I want to make sure we, you know, talk about some events that you got coming up. So obviously we talked about your drive and, you know, actually one thing I didn't ask is, you know, how much time do you think you put in daily or weekly working on your game before we get into the successes you've had and what you got going on?
So in about a week, it's an average of about like maybe an hour and a half a day.
Okay.
Because there's sometimes I'm out there for 3 hours and I'm not there at all for a day. Like I take a rest day.
Good. Okay, that's good. He doesn't push
Yeah.
you too hard over there.
To be 14 again, right? And to be on a golf course for an hour and a half a day every day. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would need something like that. But
You know, to add to the last question that you were asking him about, one of the things that I've seen from him over the last couple years is, and he made it. I don't know. I haven't told him this. I don't know if he realizes it. Is kind of the parent observer, right? Like, is he's gotten, and some of this is probably maturity. You know, you grow out of your adolescence a little bit, and you're a teenager. Is his ability to focus on what he controls and not to compare to other players. And when he's dialed into what he controls, he's pretty hard to beat. Like we just had it happen this past week, which I'll let him share that tournament. But he was down the whole tournament. But he never had a negative attitude. Even when he didn't hit the shot that he was hoping to hit, I heard him say a couple times, "That's okay. I'll get up and down here," or you know, if you miss the green, or "That's okay. I'm going to make this putt." You know, like there was much more positive self-talk, and I won't give up the secret of what happened in that tournament, but I think early on for both parents and young athletes, not just golfers, it's really easy to get into the comparison game. I mean, we do it as adults, right? Like, oh, if I could just do what that person does, you know. I think it's good to have a measuring stick as a goal, but it steals your joy. You know, comparison steals your joy if that's your sole motivation to compete for something or to go after something. You know, so again, it can be a goal maybe you're working towards, but in the end, the process has to be about what do you control and how can you get better at what you can control. And then when you're in that arena with that person, what does that look like? You know, whether it's somebody you're competing against or, you know, someone that you're working with that, you know, you just aspire that they set a great example for you, you know. But also understanding how God has wired and built you, you know, I think that he gets that now. Like he understands this is, you know, the first time I saw him swing that club, I could see there was some natural talent, you know, like, wow, like not only does he like it, but like I can see a swing there, you know, so embracing the way God has either brought you along, like in my case with coming to Armor Sports, or the abilities that God's given you. Because listen, not everybody's 6'8" in sophomore in high school from St. Vincent St. Mary that can dunk a basketball. You know, like God didn't wire me to be a professional basketball. God didn't build me to be a professional basketball player. You know, so understanding like how has God, what skill set and things. You know, Dwight actually just said this on Sunday. He said, as a parent, you telling your kids you can be anything you want to be is false. You can have goals, but you got to understand how God's leading you. You got to be obedient first to understand who you are and how God is leading you. You can't be anything. I got a boss from Finish Line. He would have loved to be. He used to say all the time, "Yeah, I'd love to be the shortstop for the Yankees, but it ain't happening." They got a pretty good one then. It was when Jeter was there. Yeah. So you got to understand. How has God, what skills and how has God brought you into this world to help you be what you want to be? And are you obedient to that? Do you embrace that? And I think it's. For him, it's been fun to observe, not just because he's our son, for Jamie and I, but just seeing that he's and there's many other examples of people in the community that I can name too, where you see whether it's someone that's great at science or someone that's great in other sports or whatever, but you see the way that God has wired them or who they are, and they've embraced those things, and they excel. And it's wonderful. Like that, to me, that's the ultimate sign of obedience, in that you're living out what God has done for you.
Yeah, and the fact that you're already noticing these things, obviously, it's difficult to say, to master, your own mind, especially as a teenager, but to just know that you're aware is pretty remarkable, because I was learning these things mid to late 20s, all right, I really got to focus in on things I can't control, because I was always obsessing over things that I had no business thinking about, because there's nothing I could do about it. But I love to think about those things. Someone will be coming into town, and I'm like, all right, I really got to pitch good in front of the general manager, because he's the one who ultimately makes the decision to call me up to the next level. So whenever I saw him or his car in the parking lot, I'm like, And it was just undue expectation. I should already have had expectations to perform because of the preparation that I've put in, but at the end of the day, I let other things overcome those things.
Yeah.
And
That's easy to do.
It is.
I try to remind him of that now, like this whole spring season. When I knew he had to make a tough shot or something, I would tell him, "Hey, one of the phrases that he's learned from Garraway is the hay is in the barn." I think he heard it from a football coach. Yeah, like you've done the work, right? That's what a farmer says, right? You've done the work. Trust it.
That's awesome.
Trust what you see. Trust what you feel, right? Because you've done the work.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. I'm gonna have to think about that one. I'm not gonna say that out loud, because I don't think that would have the same effect.
It's for all your country listeners.
People are like, "First, you ain't doing no work." But at the end of the day, that's awesome. But some things that there was article, about you. You're doing some pretty amazing things in the game of golf. Obviously, you're working hard and you've got drive to improve. But some of that hard work is, come to fruition, especially at a young age that you are. Now, what do you got going on? Because in a few, I think, a little over a week? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
You got a big event. Well, I guess first, tell us what happened in the tournament that he was talking about, where you were staying positive, and what did it lead to?
Okay, so this was Friday.
Okay.
Up in Youngstown area. I go back and forth with this kid quite a bit this year, and I was playing in his group today. And I was like, okay, I wanted to take him down.
Okay.
So we got the same score on the first hole. He takes one on first par 3, and I have 6 consecutive 4s, and he's still up 1 until the 9th hole, and I parred it, and he took a double.
Oh, okay. And the whole time, like your dad said, when you weren't hitting the shot that you wanted, you were responding with, "Oh man," not, "Oh man, that stinks," with, "Oh no, hey, I can come back, I can hit this in, I can get up and down, I can," you never know what you can do, especially when you put in the hours you've put in. I'm not coming to my, if I make a bad shot, I'm like, "Oh man, how am I going to get out of these trees?" But it's a little different for you. But I've gotten really good at keeping the ball low now.
He's in the tree. He doesn't stay completely out of the trees. Okay. Wrong.
But
every golfer's got to deal with the trees.
Yeah. Well, but I've been there so much that I've gotten really good at putting that ball back in the stands and keeping it low. But that's awesome. I mean, being able to see, I have a Discord where I help young pitchers. And they, one guy was talking to me, and he's just like, "Man, like, I had a bad game today and all this stuff. And I'm like, hey, but what did you learn? And let's talk about this and let's look at some adjustments you can make and then get excited about being able to take those adjustments into the next opportunity. And, I don't know. He had a game today. I don't know how he did, but he was like, he was like, oh, I got a game today. It's game day, And so it's exciting to be able to not always have those moments, but if you're able to change and trick your mind to think, hey, whenever something's going, wrong, like, okay, what is actually happening? And then being able to learn from that situation. And then, all right, next time you're in a situation, you're like, all right, I know what to do here, or I know how to react and I know how to stay, where in the proper headspace so I can continue the competition. Because ultimately, you ended up, doing what you wanted to do, but you didn't take the route you wanted.
Yeah, and this young man that he was playing, we were playing in a group with. He's a very talented golfer, and I think he had won 5 straight tournaments. So I told him after the round, I said, again, back to that comparison point. Because the kid drives the ball probably 50, 60 yards further than Isaac.
Oh, wow, okay.
And it is a solid player all around. But when you can get in this headspace as a performer, right? Like you're not allowing anything to take you out of your zone. And you stand up on the first tee and the kid drives the green. And Isaac hits his drive out there, and he's got about 70, 80 yards into the green, and he's got the shorter birdie putt. So it'd been easy for him to stand up there, and just like in any arena,
Of course.
it's easy. Like Mike Tyson says, you got a plan, you get hit in the mouth. Well, he stood on the first tee, and the kid drove the green. It would have been easy to say, "Oh, this is going to be a long, this is going to be a long one." So the more that you can. Back to that positive self-talk and just continue to try to find a way. And he just stuck with him. And then there's a big, long dog leg, par 5 on 9. And it was just a 9-hole tournament with Northern Ohio PGA. Okay. And it came down to who could hit the best 185-yard iron shot to lay up. That was really the difference. He hit his in the trees. We didn't see you there in the trees.
Okay, there we go.
Just kidding. We love you. But and Isaac hit a 7-iron, 165, and then had a 7-wood into the green. And that was the difference. Yeah. But it would have been really easy in any setting to look at that and go. Like I remember when I was coaching middle school basketball, we were playing Massillon, and this is like. Most of these kids have either graduated or were seniors this year from Massillon football. Mm-hmm. And so that 8th grade team was stacked. I remember they walked into our gym, and first possession, the kid comes down and laces a 3 from about 35 feet. And our guard looks at me and goes, and the kid was like 6'3". And I'm like, you got to guard him, But we were beat. We were pretty much beat at that point, And as a coach, I'm trying to keep them uplifted, like let's battle it out here. But a kid comes down and drains a 3 from 35 feet and it's smooth as could be. You're like, oh no, we're in for it today, So, but that's the mental side of what you're talking about, right? Sure. Like, how much grit and determination do you have to just put that aside and focus on what do you control? What do you control? Yeah.
And obviously you control how far you hit the ball, not how far someone else does or how accurate you hit the ball. Now, there's some things you got going on. There's some tournaments. I think is it a single tournament coming up? Now, can you tell us a little bit about, the journey here and, tell us something a little bit about the tournament that you're going to be competing in on the 26th? Or that's when you leave for it?
That's when we leave.
Okay. Yeah. So, go down on the 26th to Palm Beach.
Oh, terrible place. It's probably cold there, right?
It's going to be really hot. It's funny.
For Nationals at PGA Resort.
Nationals. That sounds...
With Under Armour Golf.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Under Armour Junior Golf. Yeah.
Dang.
And I had, in the spring season that I already played, I had to have a certain scoring requirement in order to qualify.
Okay. And when was the moment you knew that you qualified for this tournament? Because I remember seeing the article, and I remember Obviously hearing from it from you, Ryan. But when did you okay, I qualify for nationals?
Whenever I had took somebody to a 4-hole playoff to win league champion,
Really? Okay, so you
Yeah.
won league champion, huh?
and it just settled in. I was like, crap.
Yeah, so he qualified. So there were 6 events, and he met his scoring requirement to apply for nationals after the 4th event.
Okay.
And then the final event was the tour championship, and him and another young man from Jackson, same age, were battling it out, and they were tied for player of the year and had to go into a sudden death playoff to determine player of the year. So this was at Alliance Country Club on number 10, which is about 145-yard par 3 over water on an elevated green.
Okay.
Yeah, talk about as a parent, you're like anxiety level through the roof because you're watching your kiddo. Basically it's just going to come down to who gets the ball in the hole first, and it took 4 times they hit their shot.
Dang.
They both parred the first 2 times, and then they bogeyed the 3rd time. Nobody could make a birdie putt.
Really?
And then the fourth time,
I parred it, and he had took a bogey on it.
Okay. Dang.
yeah.
Now, what was that like? Were you are you someone that was jumping around?
Well, I just gave it a little fist bump because I didn't want to be I didn't want to be too
I
animated.
gotcha.
Well, listen, it was brutal. Like, you felt for the other, because it was just so much was hanging on one hole. I mean, they'd played 6 events over the course of 7 weeks.
Dang.
So there was so much hanging on. And you're not going to go play 18 holes like you probably would if you were an adult and you're winning $1 million purse.
Yeah.
But there was just so much riding on that where you felt for the other person losing. I could see it in his eyes, and we felt it. I went over and told the young man, I shook his hand and said, "You're a heck of a competitor, man. It was a great round, but they had to break the tie somehow.
Yeah.
And we couldn't be there all day. So, but yeah, it was an intense playoff.
Man, that's awesome. That's pretty exciting. I've never been in a situation like that. I've only played team sports. And, I'm not saying that you're the only reason that you're at where you're at. There's a lot of people involved in the process, but being in that situation, that's got to be tough. But I'm glad, obviously, that you came out on top, and we're looking forward to, cheering you on. Is there any things that the community or we could do at Big Time Sports to kind of help you out in, other than just sharing, hey, everybody, Isaac's going to be competing at nationals? Is it a weekend or what is?
Yeah.
It's a weekend. It's back-to-back days of 18 holes.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday. So we go in Thursday. Thursday's basically our travel day, and then Friday's a practice round.
Okay.
This is on the Champions course at PGA Resort where they play the Honda Classic.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. And then they play the Champions course Saturday, and then the Fazio course on Sunday, and then awards and all that Sunday night, and then we fly back Monday.
Okay. So you're going to Palm Beach, get to compete in an amazing tournament Saturday, Sunday with a practice round Friday, and an incredible course. But you've played on other great courses though before, right? Or is this going to be?
I've played on
not like
Not like this.
not like this.
Yeah.
I've played on some nice ones, but
Not to this level.
yeah.
That's awesome.
You asked how you can help.
Yeah, how can
I share a couple sponsorships that have helped?
For sure.
with Isaac. So, golf is an expensive sport, and one of the things that we've done this year to help offset, because the older he gets, more expensive tournaments get, equipment. So one of the things that we looked into and has helped us a lot is fundraising. So we did. We've got 3 corporate sponsors that have helped with reducing some of our costs.
Nice.
So H&M Collision is one of Isaac's sponsors. Solid Rock here in New Philly is one of our sponsors. And then Jeff Mathias Realty here locally also is one of our sponsors. And then we've had some fantastic support from Willie's Custom Golf, Oak Shadows, Zor, Wilkshire, They all made donations. We put together a raffle basket and we sold tickets for it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's really helped offset some of the cost of involved in tournament travel and tournament expense and equipment cost and all that. So,
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's great that you got some community support. You know, is there going to be, you know, you got a lot of family traveling up to cheer you on? Or is it just going to be you two?
So it's
You guys not letting Jamie come or what?
No, I think that was a prerequisite. So the three of us, and then my mom's going to be there.
Oh,
actually.
okay.
Yeah, my mom loves to travel. Yeah,
That's awesome.
So she's coming. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that's exciting. I'm happy for you. You know, I wish you the best of luck, even though I don't really believe in luck, but it's just something nice to say. I know you got faith and you've got a lot of hard work that you've put in, and you know, you got great support. But man, when do we? So is it like we're not gonna be able to watch this? I'm assuming, but we'll be able to find.
Well, I'll send you the code because you can. There's live scoring you can follow on Golf Genius.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then maybe is that something we could probably put down in the description if there's more people that want to watch?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Cool. We'll share that with everyone. Awesome.
Yeah. And I'll be posting. You can find me on Facebook,
Okay.
Instagram. I'll be posting periodic, you know, pretty frequently. I'll be posting updates. And stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, because we have a lot of family and friends that keep up with it.
Good. Well, man, is there anything else you want to say other than, you know, pray for me? No. I mean, what can you say? I mean, you've done the work. You're in a great position. I'm not sure if this was like a goal or you're just like, oh, this is great that this is happening. Was it a goal?
I mean, it was. Now that I've made it to that stage, I'm just like, go have fun. I don't really have much pressure on myself for the tournament.
That's awesome. Yeah, look at so mature. Now, does this maturity come from your mom or no? I'm joking.
100%.
Well, man, I'm happy for you. You know, happy for your family, and you know, I wish you the best. And yeah, I'm going to be tuning in to see what's going on, and that's pretty awesome. Actually, did you watch the U.S. Open? I'm assuming you did. Okay. Who's your favorite player?
Scheffler.
Oh, okay. Old Scotty, huh?
You saw that putt on 18 that JJ Spawn made?
With the 64.5 footer?
Yeah.
Kind of far, you know.
That's unbelievable.
That's ridiculous.
Well, he got a peek at it right before that from Hovland's putt. He had the same putt.
Yeah, saw him trying to pick up his caddy for a second, and then they realized, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't do that.
Yeah,
But they were celebrating. That's why I asked you, like, did you celebrate, you know?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. But it's good to see, young people watching sports. And you're obviously interested in the game of golf. So, again, wish you the best. I'll make sure everything's down in the description. I think we covered everything. We're going to put everything about the events coming up at Armor Sports. Your Nationals tournament that's happening here soon. I'm excited. I know you are. You still get the butterflies, or do you not get that really as much?
Maybe a little bit.
Right before? Oh,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I have to say it's great to have a local place like Big Time Sports, highlighting and covering sports topics here in Tuscarawas County.
Yeah, I'm sure Charlie would love to go and watch and have some live streams.
Not every rural community has those options.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's good to have this too, because even, and it was kind of funny when I was growing up, live stream wasn't really a thing. I mean, we had TV2 and they'd have one game.
That was before the internet.
Yeah. But no, it's great the coverage we have now, and obviously I'm thankful for Big Time Sports, and I love it to be able to watch basketball, softball, baseball, football, all these sports on live. It's just great. And of course, we want to support our schools and go to the game in person. But if you can't make it, it's nice to have an alternative. But
yeah, what's the tagline? Sweet banana. I've heard Charlie yell that.
he loves the sweet banana.
Sweet banana,
That's his favorite thing.
Maybe sweet orange down in Florida, but no bananas.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe an orange, but no, Charlie's got all the sayings. He's got keep your socks high, your powder dry, and bye-bye. That's his that's his outro thing. But I don't really have one. I usually just say thank you and everything, and we close up. But no, I appreciate you guys for coming on the show. I don't know if you have much time, but maybe we'll try to get you in on the Big Time Sports Show with Charlie. I'm sure he would like that. But yeah, no, I appreciate you coming on the show again. Wish you the best coming up in your nationals tournament, and Armor Sports taking over. And again, we'll have all those dates and that information. You'll be able to find out on Big Time Sports. But without further ado, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned here for all our live sports. And if we aren't able to do live, like when we do these state tournaments, they will be up on a delay. Or you can pay money to watch it on OHSAA. But we all know you want to come to Big Time Sports. So again, like this video. Check out the description for information that you can follow Isaac as he performs in the Nationals tournament. That's pretty crazy, just saying that. But we do have state champions. Dover won the state championship softball, but Nationals is a different level. So, again, good luck. And appreciate you guys always staying tuned here on the Big Time Sports Network, whether that's Charlie at the Big Time Sports Show or here at the podcast. Also, we're looking forward to having Coach Ift here. If we can get him here, that'll be a miracle, but we're going to try. But without further ado, we'll see you in the next episode.